Pounders, welcome back. Today, we're going to be covering the risers and fallers from the round one chaos of the NFL draft. Join with me is Steve from Fanspeak. Steve, welcome to the live stream.
How's it going? Glad to be on. Love talking football, especially NFL draft.
Hell yeah. We had a nice little conversation yesterday on Tyler's stream about all the picks coming in. Let's start off right off the bat. Cam Ward, do you think this was baked in? Like his ADP was around, let me see, 150? 151. This was already baked in, right?
Yeah, I mean, particularly like this last month when it was clear the Titans were taking him, then you knew you could stack him with Ridley or Pollard or something like that. And yeah, you know, I think the bigger question is, and we'll have to see what some of these other quarterbacks do, but Lawrence was already going ahead of him, but obviously Lawrence gets a big upgrade. And I know we'll talk about these guys, but like Bryce Young gets a big upgrade. So, you know, does that impact it? But yeah, I think we kind of know where Ward's at. You know, if the Titans add a bunch of weapons and more help to him, then maybe that helps him rise a little bit more going forward, and just more stacking options. Because like I said, it's kind of like Ridley or Pollard or bust. Wasn't really stacking him with Chig. You know, we got the Tyler Lockett news literally the night before, you know, the draft essentially. So we'll see what his true stacking options are. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're taking a wide receiver in this early round 2 pick.
Right. And Chig going at pick 213. Where's Chiggy going for you now? Does he make it quite to that Ertz range, or is he more towards the Schultz? And we'll see where Fannin Jr. lands.
So yeah, I think that's it. I want to see what they do in the 3rd round. I'm guessing 2nd round is wide receiver, 3rd round, and they're actually right now they don't have a 3rd round, if I believe, but 3rd or 4th round, maybe they trade up. Also, I want to see if they add a tight end, because they just weren't willing to give Chig the whole role last year, and I worry that's probably continuing. But particularly going to be worried if they end up with an Arroyo or Mason Taylor. But I think the bigger thing is, you know, there's these rumored veterans out there, a Goddard, maybe a Kmet now, Andrews. Like, does a 4th round pick get one of those guys? Maybe a pick for next year, get one of those guys. You know, maybe that ends up being their tight end 1. So, I mean, if he doesn't get any competition, then yeah, Chig should go up a little bit. But I'm sweating out him getting competition right now. So we'll have to see kind of through this weekend. But yeah, if he doesn't get any, then bump him up a couple rounds, because, you know, he should at least be what he was last year with a better quarterback.
Yeah, even someone's maybe going a little later, maybe like a round 3, round 4 guy, like if Gunnar Helm's there or Ferguson, those could obviously impact Chiggy. Right now, obviously, during the 20 round drafts, he was a great ad, just for the speculation that, all right, you know, round 1, they're going Cam. They need help at receiver. They bring in Tyler Lockett. That can't be it. That can't be it. But yeah, the Tennessee pieces are looking good. Are the running backs safe? Do you think the RBs are safe there?
I do think Tennessee's running backs are safe, particularly Pollard. I don't think they're bringing in any serious competition. They could bring out in a day 3 guy who could compete with Spears. I know Spears is a favorite among the best ball community, but look, as long as Pollard was healthy last year, he had the job. It was only the weeks that Pollard was banged up that Spears got in there and had any significant usage. So I think they could just be okay with those 2 guys, but I wouldn't be surprised. This is such a deep running back class. You know, we're probably going to see a total of 25, 26 guys selected. So, you know, it's going to be somebody to compete with Spears. I don't think it's going to be somebody to compete with Pollard. But right now, I think their ADPs are pretty good. Pollard should probably go up maybe around. Spears maybe down around or right around where he's at. Because I think too many people are still taking him as a sense that Spears could overtake Pollard. And I'm just not getting that sense with the way they talked about Pollard, the way they used him last year. I think it is a plus for them if they just have a functioning quarterback. Like Pollard was a good fantasy player, and their offense was one of the worst in the league. Like, if it just
Hmm.
gets below average, like a
Yeah.
20th offense in the league, then Pollard is definitely better.
Hell yeah. No, I like that. The Tennessee pieces, you I don't think necessarily maybe Cam Ward it was baked in, but I think a lot of the other pieces it really wasn't baked in and until towards the end of the fill rate of the big board. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
Ridley finally moved up to like 64, 63. And then you
Well,
have pick 2 with a lot of implications here. Like people who start to fade the Cleveland pieces because of
mhm.
the expectation that Travis Hunter was coming in. So both sides of the ball here for the Jags and for Cleveland, you're getting, projections that didn't go the way people thought.
No.
So like Cedric Tillman's still live, right? We're not going to say, draft plenty of days left, but still live. Njoku slide, probably
Mhm.
if you were scooping that, you're feeling pretty good about the Njoku slide to about 120 ADP. How about Judy for you?
Yeah, Judy, I think I didn't end up with a lot of Judy because I thought he was a little high to begin with. And
Mm,
then when it did look like it was Hunter, I was like, well, I'm not going to now be in on Judy.
exactly.
But I think Judy, I think he probably should have been going a couple of rounds later, like more in the 60s, kind of like where Ridley is going. Um, just because here's the thing, like Tillman for those first couple games when they made the switch, which even one of those was DTR starting, um, Tillman was the better receiver than Judy, and then he gets a concussion and Judy just takes over. What if it goes back to Tillman? And I get the concussion serious and all that, but full off season, all this stuff, that could be very much more balanced. And especially a guy like Flacco, like Judy has some deep threat juice, but Tillman is a vertical X. If it's Flacco starting, he likes throwing the ball deep. So um, I just I think it should be. I think if they don't get much more competition, I think Judy should slide a little bit, but Tillman should rise for sure. And in Njoku, I agree with you. He should rise as well.
Hell yeah. And then from the Jag side of things, BTJ, are you worried at all about BTJ?
Not too much. I think I'd bump him down, handful of spots. Like he should be more, he's kind of going 8, 9, 10. I think he should be 12, 13, 14, 15 now. I don't think it's a massive hit. Yeah, honestly, kind of similar, and it didn't really affect his ADP too much, but like Puka got Devontae Adams coming in. Adams rose and Puka didn't really fall. He maybe fell like one spot, two spots. That's kind of the same thing here. I mean, I love Travis Hunter, and I'm wheels up for him. But BTJ is still going to get his. People make this comparison because it was his college receiver, but T Higgins, like look at T Higgins. He's one of the best number 2s in the league. That can be Hunter. Obviously, different body type stuff like that, but
Taylor asking before or after Drake London. Those two might be side by side. I think you're going to
yeah.
see Kenty and CMC. If you keep getting the positive news about CMC, he's just going to rise.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see those two skipping ahead of him. And I mean, London sort of survives round 1 without them bringing in a receiver, which wasn't expected, but
Yeah.
it's looking good for London.
Yeah. So I'll have to make a final determination when I release my rankings next week. But yeah, I could see myself slotting London like one spot ahead of BTJ, but we're talking it's a dead heat, I don't think there's a massive difference between the two. I'm probably going to want a good chunk of both, BTJ and London. But yeah, kind of it only slides them back a few spots for me. I'm not going to make a big stand on a guy like BTJ who was just so great down the stretch. He's exactly what we always talk about. Post-bye rookie bump. I mean, it was even happening before the bye, but second half of the year, he was just massive. And that was with Mac Jones. He gets a much better offensive system. I mean, Doug Peterson was like a dinosaur with the Jags last year, or these last couple of years. And I'm a big fan of Liam Cohen, big fan of this offensive system. We just see the upside potential here. And yeah, if Lawrence stays healthy, big things can happen for both BTJ and Hunter.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's It's really good for T-Law.
Oh yeah.
It's obviously really, really good for T-Law. It's a great spot for Travis Hunter too. Like you are getting a quarterback upgrade. Everyone that thought he was going to Cleveland, right? So if you had him in the 60s going to Cleveland, he should be flying up the board even more going to the Jags. The question is, how much will he play on defense? And a lot of the coach speak is they want him playing the majority of snaps on offense. They want him to be offense first, and then they'll mix him into defense. Just probably to keep him happy. That's what it sounds like.
Exactly. No, and look, I think so. And it also helps him justify making a big trade up for him just being this unicorn. And he is. Everyone who said it, he was the best wide receiver and he was the best corner in this class. But here's the thing: wide receivers, it's an offense-driven league. Wide receivers have more total value. And they are like look, the Jets have had Sauce Gardner. That didn't help them win with Zach Wilson. That didn't help them win last year. Wide receivers, and I know they had good wide receivers as well, but you pair a wide receiver with a good quarterback, a good offensive system. That's what the Jets were lacking. It can be teams get carried to the playoffs simply on their offense, and that can be the Jags. And Hunter is just such a weapon. I think he'll play some defense, but I don't think it meaningfully impacts his offensive snaps. Like, yes, he might not be like a 90% receiver, like what we see the top guys, like a Terry McLaurin, Justin Jefferson, all these types of guys. They play 90% of the snaps. Maybe he's 80% offensive snaps.
Yeah.
That doesn't scare me. That doesn't worry me at all.
He can still be a top 20 receiver with 80% snaps. Pretty confident there. You see what Neighbors did last year. He played 90% of snaps with multiple quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And what did he finish? Wide receiver 7, I think I saw.
Something like that, yeah.
So playing 80% of snaps, but with a better team, sort of equals out. I'm not saying he's going to be wide receiver 7, but towards the end of the season where you're looking for those spike weeks during the fantasy football playoffs, Travis Hunter, it's a good spot. It's a really good spot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Wheels up for sure.
Giants go with Abdul Carter, pretty expected. Patriots with Will Campbell. Give a little help to hopefully the blind side of Drake May.
Yeah.
This should be a little boost for the Patriots and Drake May.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt without that. I mean, I understand there's some question, is Will Campbell a left tackle or not? But here's the thing: he can be an impact guard, and they're so bad across the board. Their only meaningful signing was Morgan Moses, and he's a right tackle only. And I know they got Garrett Bradbury also, but the Vikings were very quick to replace him. So even if he's an impact guard, we've seen it before. Zach Martin in college was a tackle. Brandon Scherf in college was a tackle. They kicked inside the guard right off the bat, became impact players, Pro Bowlers. That for when your offensive line is as bad as the Patriots is, that's a massive upgrade. Anytime you're getting a top tier guy, whether it's tackle or guard, that's going to help. And yeah, I mean, Drake May needs all the help that he can get. I'm guessing we'll see some more come today. But yeah,
baby, come on. We want who do we want? We want either Kyle Williams, Higgins.
I love Jaden Higgins.
Burden. We'll see if Luther Burden's there, but I'm sort of expecting Houston to go receiver with I think they have the 4th pick in the second round. Second pick, maybe. But
second, I think. Yeah.
We got some. We'll get to Hampton. That's gonna be an interesting conversation. This is a good comment. No Ingram taken away. Ingram plus Kirk, right? So big openings for the Jags. Dimey Brown goes back to not being drafted in BBM the way it should be. You probably don't have to worry about Gabe Davis. I think he ends up getting released, or I don't know if they even get anything for him. And then who's the other one? Parker Washington. It's going to be coach speak between those two if you're trying to add a wide receiver 3 there, depending who gets the better coach speak.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see on Gabe Davis just because we've seen him have the most NFL success, but there's an injury and it was a different, front office and coaching staff that brought him in. But yeah, whether it's De'Ami Brown or Gabe Davis, one of them could be an 18th round pick, but yeah, nothing special anymore.
Moving on to the Browns. So far, so good for the offensive pieces. We'll see. They
Mhm.
have a lot of picks left. Don't they have two picks? Two picks,
2
pick
early seconds, yeah.
36 in the second round. They can go so many different ways with this, with wide receivers, running backs, with a lot of good running backs still on the board.
Mhm. Yeah,
That
no, and
be
I think they also need offensive line help. We'll see, where they go. They probably don't go quarterback. I mean, if you're planning on taking a quarterback next year, why would you even use this pick on Shador or Milrow? Just bolster, like taking O lineman and a running back with those 2 picks,
oh
or
god.
take a running back and receiver. I mean, yeah, I know some fans will be crazy, but if you're saying we have 2 firsts next year, we'll get our guy, the Bears, and I understand they had Justin Fields, but it's not like when they made the trade back with the Panthers, they didn't say, "Oh, we need to take another." I mean, they took one later in the draft, Tyson Badgett, who actually played some games, but they didn't immediately say we're going to use a second rounder on a quarter. They didn't take Will Levis that year. They were a-okay with waiting the next season, and they lucked into Caleb Williams. So
And they need
I
the
don't know if the
Jags
Browns.
really bad. Taking that trade, right? They will get the Jags first pick next season. So
Yeah,
if they end up winning like 7 or 8 games, that's not going to be great for the Browns,
yeah.
depending on how they finish. But yeah, I they can go so many different ways here with these 2 picks. It's going to be interesting if they either continue to try to compile picks for next season or what they do here. But I agree. It's not for certain QB, but definitely could be. We'll just have to wait
Oh,
and
it's
see.
it's it's a possibility, but I wouldn't be surprised if running back's like their top
I'd,
priority.
I'd love to see like Travion Henderson go off the board
Yeah,
right here.
and
That would
especially
be
Ohio State guys, like, just that's a way to help sell it to your fan base. Like, hey, we still got a
it's gonna
weapon.
it's gonna be an interesting day too. I can already
Yeah.
feel it. Genty, good landing spot. A lot of open carries here for Genty with Vegas. Is he a
Mhm.
solidified first round pick from here on out, starting in BBM?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, I know the Raiders last year were not good, obviously, but there was a lot of reasons for that. They've upgraded their head coach, offense coordinator, quarterback.
Mhm.
The offensive line is solid, and you figure out the Colton Miller situation. But Genty should be a workhorse, and we know Carroll loves to run the ball. We know Chip Kelly loves to run the ball. When he was in the NFL and in college, has one of the highest run rates. Yeah, I just think Genty is going to get all the work that he can handle, and he can be a complete 3-down back. I mean, we're taking obviously a much better offense, but like Gibbs doesn't have that role. We're hoping Bijan finally gets that role, but it's Genty just could be total wheels up. And, I do think the Raiders will be better. It was similar to what we were talking about before, with Pollard. If the Titans offense just gets the average, below average standpoint, it's so much better for Pollard. If the Raiders offense with Geno can just be average, Genty can be a big fantasy producer. We saw an average Raiders offense a couple years ago have the number 1 back in Josh Jacobs.
Hmm. Yeah, RB is a simple way for this team to just extend drives and keep the time of possession on their side and sort of help out their defense a little bit. Genty eats yards after contact as well. Going to be a really, really just solid pick here at 6. Interesting, we didn't see, or at least nothing got done with Denver, Dallas, or the Bears, but the
Mm,
Bears seems like they were comfortable here at 10 the whole time, expecting Colson Loveland to be there. So we'll get to that. I love that pick.
yeah.
Um, Armin Membo going to the Jets. A little bit of help for Brees Hall right now, a little bit of help for Fieldies and Garrett
Yeah.
Wilson. I mean, he gets, Warren was one of the projected targets here at 7. So Garrett Wilson's still alive and well.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, they could have gone Ted also. Their wide receiver depth chart is awful behind Wilson. And I still expect rounds 2, 3. I think they really could be looking to build up the offense, kind of say, hey, we're going to give Fields the best possible chance to succeed. And if he doesn't work out, we'll know for sure. No more excuses for Justin Fields with a really good offensive line and weapons around him. But then we're a set team for our next quarterback. So I expect more weapons to be done, but yeah, I think Membu is a positive pick for everyone. This is by far the best offensive line Fields has ever had in front of him. So we'll see, and I think Fields will probably continue to rise a little bit, unless they do make a surprise like quarterback pick, but I don't necessarily expect that.
Oh, the Aaron Rodgers treatment. Next up on the board is Carolina going with Tet McMillions. Now we have a second McMillions, the real one, going behind. Let's see. He was going behind Devonta Smith, Rome Odunze, Zay Flowers, DK Metcalf by just a hair. Does he move and JMO? Where does he move you? Is he ahead of Odunze after they take Colson Loveland?
I think I would give a slight lean to Tet just because I think he's got the upside to be the true wide receiver one on this team with major red zone potential. We saw down the stretch a just completely different Bryce Young last year, and particularly once Adam Thielen came back. Once he had even one decent receiver, he had some really good games. And now he will have two, and we'll see, if anyone else can do anything. But this wide receiver depth chart, Adam Thielen was good for them these last 2 years. He's finished as like a top 30 wide receiver in points per game both years. But he was like the only one. Deontay Johnson had a couple games last year, but that was about it. And they needed help. And I think Tet is just what we are looking for. I know he gets the comps to Mike Evans. He's not exactly that. He gets the comps to Drake London. He's a little different than that. But that size, that ability, he can be an alpha, a true number one. And, particularly with that size, if he's getting 8 to 10 touchdowns, that could be huge.
Yeah. He should free up space as well for Leggett, for Adam Thielen, and you could just see them all be pretty decent picks based on their ADP. Leggett will probably fall a little bit. Coker's probably undraftable at this point. I'm assuming he's the odd man out. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to give Leggett every chance to get the job. I think Thielen is very safe. When Big Board started, Thielen was like 170, 168, something like that. He kind of went up to about 150, and even the last couple of days being drafted in the 140s. I think he goes a little higher because he's, I think, the clear number 2 receiver on this team. And like I just mentioned, he finished the top 30 wide receiver the last 2 years. But I do worry about Leggett. I think take some shots on him late. There's some athletic ability, obviously his first round capital. But it was kind of troubling that, Coker and even David Moore were like getting opportunities above him last year when Deontay Johnson was traded, when Thielen was out with injury. Leggett just couldn't see the field.
Yes. And it was kind of a crapshoot for Carolina. Changes in quarterback play. Leggett his rookie year. He had a couple sparks, couple moments, and he needs to have that once a game. So we'll see if he can get it together in his sophomore season. But the range isn't terrible for him. He'll fall a little bit, but I don't think he's not taking an axe.
No, I would take some shots, in the 15th, 16th round. I think that's probably where he should go. But he's probably not a guy I'm going to be like over the field on, just because there is a wide range.
Question from Charles: does Bryce Young rise in ADP? Currently going at pick 156. The next best available QB is 151 with Cam Ward, and then Staffy at 149, who I actually thinks a good value. Tua at 142.
Yeah,
is he maybe ahead of those guys for you, or is he in the correct range?
I think think we'll see. Who knows what happens with Tyreek Hill, but I think Tua needs to slide. One, there's the injury risk, but that team is missing a lot of stuff. Stafford, I agree with you. I like his value with the two really good receivers and some depth there, and a much better offensive line this year. But to me, yeah, Bryce Young, he was a guy I had pretty good exposure to in big board, and I'm happy to keep doing that and even moving him up, like above Tua. Yeah, why not? He gets one of the top wide receivers in this class. Now there's multiple options there, actual depth on this team, and it looks like they want to invest into their young quarterback and get him to succeed. And it was a rough start to begin last year, but like I said, he got better, and as the year went on, and maybe Dave Canales just kind of got it going. Like, you look at the year before Dave Canales with Baker, and obviously a much different situation. Baker had been in the league a while, but it started rough early, but then Baker was great down the stretch, which led to that big extension.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm with you there on Bryce, and probably flipping him over Tua, probably right next to Staffy, maybe one step ahead, maybe one step behind. That's probably going to depend on correlation back stacks, but Leggett at 141 will likely fall a little bit. Moving on, New Orleans goes offensive tackle, churn up the run. They just keep good for Kamara, Kamara, certainly, and we'll see what they do in the rest of the draft. But this is good news. This is definitely good news for your Kamara bags if you guys haven't drafted him. I've been pretty heavy on Kamara. I had to pull off a little bit, but just seemed like a safe pick, and especially during the big board, we were drafting a ton of rookies too. You're going to be hitting 3 to 4 rookies, pick 100 to 225, 226. So that was sort of my strategy with Kamara there. What do you think about the pick?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm very high in Kamara. I didn't believe that, he might get later competition, but nothing truly serious. And he finished as a top 10 running back last year, missing the last 3.5 weeks in total points. He was 6th in points per game. That's how good of a year he had with no one. I mean, that team was so decimated with injuries. So, yeah, I mean, we still have questions about their quarterback situation. And also, like, the guy who truly vultured him last year, Taysom, I don't think is going to be a thing this year. So, I think he's in a great spot overall. And for where his ADP is, I'm going to keep hammering him there at that spot. And even if it rises some, absolutely.
Hell yeah. Colson Loveland to the Bears. Oh man, I'm not gonna lie. I think this was an early victory lap for me. I think I took 3 laps around the house. Crazy. Now it's a victory lap, but I also get hit a little bit because I was drafting both Loveland and Warren, knowing one of them was likely going to end up on Indy, and I was okay with that. Luckily, 22% Loveland, 14% Warren. He gets the Bears. This has to be a top 3 or 4 landing spot for him, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They're probably going to run a ton of 12 personnel. So if you were drafting a lot of Komet, I don't think he's necessarily dead, especially for his ADP. You're looking for 2 spike weeks, and he could still get their half-point PPR touchdowns for tight end position. Colson Loveland, what's he do for you? Does it change anything with DJ Moore, with Rome Odunze? Obviously, a nice little upgrade for Caleb.
Yeah, so not a real change for Moore or Odunze, because now they're just kind of locked into 2 wide receiver sets. It's not in competition right now on the roster. I mean, their third receiver is Zacchaeus. Maybe they add somebody today. I mean, they do have 2 early second-round picks, but I think one could be tiered towards a running back. But I just think, their wide receivers are in a good spot. Caleb, it's another situation. Rising tide lifts all boats. Like, this offense just should be so much better with Ben Johnson, an improved offensive line, good weapons. There can be a lot for everyone to eat here. And Komet, I don't think he, like you said, kills him. I probably won't be drafting him in an 18-round draft now. But yeah, it doesn't kill your like big board shares of them. But no, I think Loveland. I said last night, like, he and Warren should at least flip an ADP, and probably Loveland going a little higher, like kind of where Mark Andrews was going in the 90s. I'd probably be okay with Loveland there. And yeah, I think it's absolutely good for Caleb. Caleb is the biggest beneficiary because boy, this offense, when you're giving Ben Johnson the ingredients, we know that he can cook.
Oh yeah, Loveland's going to flip Njoku, Ingram, Kelsey, and Jonnu Smith. And he's likely going to end up next to like Hawkinson in the 80s is where I'd have him darted. The Bears also would pick 39 and 41, pick 7 and 9 in the second round. So the Swifties, they survive round 1. Can they survive 2 picks in round 2? Hold on to your horses. We're gonna find
I don't know if they will.
Pick 11. San Franco's edge, so not a lot changes there for us. This is the most Dallas pick ever. Yeah. So many needs on offense, so many options available. Let's go, Tyler Booker, name picked from a hat. Wow, Javonte Williams still alive, which is sort of hysterical. A lot of people thought this was going to be Matthew Golden. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. The Cowboys will always disappoint. Always disappoint. I think it's part of the reason why I was so heavy on Javonte when he was going in the 200s was a lot of teams needed free agents. Then he landed with Dallas, and it's like still drafted him up to like 160s, and then I pulled off when he got to the 140s. I just flipped and started drafting other players in that range. Man, it is interesting because if they don't go around to RB at pick 44, the Javonte shares are looking live, which a round 3 guy can still hurt him, but he'll be good in that range still.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think round 2 or round 3. It also depends on the guy. There's certain guys who, if it's just like for whatever reason they get like Jarquez Hunter, who's more like just a salary back. I don't think, or Bushell Tootin or somebody like that. I don't think those guys are as big a total threats. But if they're taking Devin Neal in the 3rd round, that's a guy who can be an every down back. Damian Martinez, that could be an early down hammer, who's getting all the goal line work.
Touches in college.
Yeah. So I think it does depend, but yeah, I mean, no competition in round 1 was big. And, I will say Booker helps their offensive line in the last 2 years. They've lost Biotish, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith. That's a lot to lose on your offensive line. They needed help there, but it was just way too early. And yeah, so it helps who's ever there, Dak and whatever running backs they end up with. We'll see what they do in rounds 2 and 3.
And the Miami much needed defensive tackle here. So wasn't expected to go offense there. Not a lot of changes, still condensed offense so far. Tyler Warren to the Colts. And one of these rookies were going to land here. And that's the way it felt. Tyler Warren, you are going to the gulag, my friend. Currently going around pick 89, 90. And like you said, you would flip him with Colston Loveland going around pick 123. I think he ends up going behind Kraft.
Yeah.
Kincaid is probably where he ends up landing is like the 130s. Kincaid's there, Likely's there.
Yeah, I'd probably put him even behind Kincaid. I know that's a competition room also in Buffalo, but at least you have a much better quarterback. But what I will say about Tyler Warren is 2 things. One, Brock Bowers went to the absolute worst landing spot last year. And I know he quickly ascended above Michael Mayer, but they had Devontae Adams through the first 5-6 weeks. No quarterback, terrible offensive system, everything. And he still ended up as tight end 1. Now, Warren is a different guy than Bowers. There's no question about that. But he also offers more unique stuff Sure, I don't think he's taking away goal line carries from Jonathan Taylor and maybe Anthony Richardson, but what if it becomes Daniel Jones? Jones can scramble some, but maybe Warren gets some of those like pushes and those types of things. I just think what I do like is Shinsteichen is a very creative guy. I mean, he was part of the tush push, creation. And I think he will find ways to utilize Warren. Obviously, they loved him. They're very high on him. To me, the biggest hurt is I think we got to knock all the Colts receivers a little bit because now they have real competition. Last year, tight ends got such a small percentage of their targets, which weren't many to begin with because Anthony Richardson was barely throwing the ball. But now Warren is definitely going to have his target share. So that's where I'm having trouble is how do we handle, there's already an odd room because we were kind of drafting 4 guys for 3 spots and no one was like clear as like the alpha or second guy. How do we handle these guys is a mess, and especially since we don't know the quarterback. I feel better from a passing perspective with Daniel Jones than Anthony Richardson, but we'll see how long of a leash Richardson has. There's a lot of unknown there.
You're probably going to see both of them this year, but Warren probably also good for JT, some more extended drives, potential more red zone trips, a good blocker, good hands. So yeah, more extended drives, always a good thing. This they traded into this, right? And that was
that was their normal pick. They traded into the later one. Yeah,
it was the next one. There was a lot of drama around that one.
Yeah.
Okay, couple defensive picks here. Chase Brown's still alive for now. Guard for Seattle, obviously good for what they want to do. Team that wants to run the ball with 2 backs, and they definitely needed help on their O-line. So
and also for Sam Darnold. Like we saw Darnold when he had one of the biggest splits between when he was pressured and not pressured. And when he was not pressured, he was elite last year. When he was pressured, he looked like Sam Darnold with the Jets. So any help there is a positive, not just for him, but JSN and Cooper Kupp. So yeah, I think that was a good pick for Seattle offense in general.
Definitely. And Emeka Egbuka to the Bucks. Really, honestly, from like a standpoint of the team, I think it's a great pick for the future. And now with who knows how Godwin's going to play, returning back to NFL play after that season-ending injury. Mike Evans barely crossing the 1,000-yard marker last year. Obviously, some aging players there. And then you have Jalen McMillan, who, again, he might be dead this year, but for Dynasty, he's far from crushed. This year, yeah, he's likely going in the 180s plus. We'll see if he even gets drafted. He was just a brutal at ADP. A lot of the pounders near 0% on him. He was on my 0% list back in February. Now, certainly this crushes him, but what's Emeka's outlook for you sharing targets with Mike Evans, Cade Otton, Godwin, and some McMillan being mixed in?
So, and first, let me say I agree with you. The only McMillan, I had like 3%. The only I had of him was at the very start of Big Board before the Godwin coming back.
Yes.
Even the rumors began. But once Godwin came back, McMillan just never fell enough. Like if they didn't take Mbuka, I probably would have ranked McMillan in like the 130s. I mean, just clear number 3 wide receivers shouldn't go that high. Like this is not a situation like we don't know who the number 3 is going to be. It would have been clearly McMillan. So now I think Mbuka should go around that range. So yeah, he's not the guy in the 70s, but so I think he should be in that like 120, 130 range. I do think this gives him plenty of opportunity to just have a tremendous offense. So everyone, but particularly Baker, is the biggest beneficiary here.
Definitely. Absolutely agree there. Broncos going quarterback. You gotta love it. The RBs are still alive there for now, but that was a surprise there, I think. Defensive tackle for Pittsburgh, Omarion Hampton, come on down. Najee Harris, back to the 130, 140s. He's
That's
going
what I
into
think.
the backup range, handcuff range, I would think.
Yeah.
And maybe you're
Yeah, I
hoping
think
he
clearly.
gets a little more than like Algier. Like he's
Yeah.
probably ahead of Algier. They're both going to be, those two will probably be the top two handcuffs this season.
Yeah, I think he should probably go a little ahead of Algier, just given his health and everything. But no, I agree. He goes down to like 130, 140 range. But and Hampton, had he gone to a spot with no competition, maybe as a 2-3 turn guy, I think he goes up around, but I don't know if I'd push him in like to the second round.
Yeah. A team that wants to run the ball, there could just be plenty of touches for both of
Yeah.
them. But is Najee going to be able to hold up his end of the bargain where it's like, okay, you know, we can give it to Marion Hampton for 4.9 yards per carry, or we can give it to Najee for 3.7. It's like he's gonna have to keep up if he's gonna want full drives. So it'll be interesting to see how that split looks there. And even towards the end of the season, where you're looking for upside, you're expecting Marion Hampton to be kicking into full gear. Yeah, and I think that's actually they go RB and QJ actually real safe right now. Ladd, I think was a danger in round 2. He's looking even a little better now. Even though it's a run first team, he's still going to be the number 1 target there. Matthew Golden to Green Bay. It's kind of interesting because the way they run this offense, like no receivers playing over like 75% of snaps. Wicks towards the end of the season was playing the most snaps. Dobbs potentially on the way out the door.
Yeah, it's definitely potential there. It is interesting. Dobbs is probably their best run blocking wide receiver, so maybe that keeps him on the team. But first I will say, similar to some of these other situations, best beneficiary here is Jordan Love, just another weapon. Golden, he's got the speed, but he's just a really good route runner. I know the production metrics are a concern, but I think the talent and upside are there. And this is a landing spot where he can easily jump Wicks and Dobbs. So I mean, I think the offense should run through him and Reed. So I think this ends up being a good landing spot for Golden. I wouldn't like drastically move his ADP because of it, but I think it's a positive landing spot for Golden, and hurts Dobbs and Wicks considerably.
Agree. I like it. I think, man, I would love to see them go to like 2 wide receiver sets with Reed and Golden, give them the majority, mix in Wicks, but they run like 4 to 5 guys. It's great. Yeah. It's nuts in Green Bay. We'll see if it gets a little more condensed. We'll see if Golden can be their field stretcher that's out there the majority of the time. That would be my thought. In Reed, he's got to take a hit at his ADP, I would think.
Yeah, a little bit hit.
But does he rise from where he currently is in the 80s, 78?
I mean, I think he rises because some other situations probably got worse, but like we're talking to like 70. I don't think he's rising to like 50 or anything like that.
I could see that. And the last big offensive shakeup besides Washington and the Chiefs going O-line, which really good for Casey. Desperately needed that, obviously, after what happened in the Super Bowl. Jackson Dart, the Giants trade back in to scoop their guy, another deep ball type guy. So good for Slayton. You have the choice of Russell Wilson or Dart. What'd you think of this selection? Obviously, before Sanders is off the board.
Yeah, I mean, definitely hurt Sanders shares. Dart, I like him. I think there's a lot upside to him long term. I think he can be a very, very much a franchise quarterback. I don't know if he's going to, with two veteran options ahead of him. And obviously that could change when they trade Winston or something like that. But I think you're probably best looking for more like a Jalen Hurts kind of like late season overtaking the guy, maybe even more than 3 games, just because the Giants could be really bad this year. But I would not expect Dart to be playing the full year or even have like the Drake May treatment. I think we're talking more like you'll be happy to get 8 games out of Dart.
I'm more on the side of that from what versus what I'm hearing on Twitter from speculation of how many games. I think 8 games is about right. 9, 10 depends how ugly the season starts. I will say if it's real ugly, they're 0-5. You're gonna see them sooner. If they're
particularly if Dable gets fired,
2,
yeah,
it's gonna take a little bit. But I agree on that standpoint. Probably it's always good to have more options for these pass catchers. Theo Johnson's still live. Obviously, we'll see what happens tonight. But that was a big one. I think Giants fans are going to be excited about this pick. Dart, great deep ball, accurate deep ball too. So Neighbors looking good. Does he bump up for you at all, or is he just kind of locked in that position?
I don't know if he bumps up. I mean, I only in the sense of, I think, I was kind of taking BTJ ahead of Neighbors just because I liked Lawrence more than him. But now I might put Neighbors ahead of BTJ because, that kind of situation. But, I think Neighbors is in a great spot because now there's 3 quarterbacks who are better than the 3 quarterbacks he had thrown to him last year.
Hell yeah. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the round 1. So excited for round 2 tonight. I'm gonna be popping into some live streams, probably on the cell phone with some live reactions. So make sure you guys are watching the live streams tonight. We'll be popping in with some biz. But I hope you guys enjoy today's video. Drop a like if you did. Hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 3K. Give Steve and Fanspeak a follow. Link is in the description of the video. And I hope you guys enjoy round 2. Steve, you can tell the people what you got going on today.
Yeah, so tonight at the start of round 2, we will be doing a live stream on Fanspeak Network on YouTube, Twitter, and follow me and I'll be tweeting it out. And then I think I'm later for kind of round 3. I'm going to actually jump over to BBG's channel and talk about the picks there with him as well. But yeah, it should be a fun night and looking forward to the start of best ball summer. We're going to be really gearing up next week, and yeah, it's exciting, and we're now part of your Discord, and we're going to be talking ball on there all the time as well.
Let's go. Yeah, link to the description for the Discord, completely free. Over 500 best ball freaks in there talking ball all day long, sharing their draft grades, fill-in drafts, high stakes drafts, which is also nice. Really, it's a hidden usage. But appreciate everyone, and we'll catch you in the Discord for tonight's draft. Pounders.